Hello everybody, my name is Ellie Suster. I'm the Open Access Business Development Manager here at Taylor & Francis, and I'm joined today by my colleague Sabia Bhuyan, who is the Open Access Workflow Specialist.
Hello everyone.
So what we're going to show you through today is the Taylor & Francis author workflow for open select articles under your transformative agreement with Taylor & Francis. So we're going to take you through a step-by-step guide of what the author sees at every point in the journey. And then after that, I'm going to hand back to Sabia, and he's going to give a live demo of the research dashboard, which, as you know, is the tool to approve or decline articles for APC funding under your agreement. We're going to be hosting these on the landing page for your agreement. But if you do have any questions or any comments, feel free to send us an email at any stage and we'll be able to help you with your specific request. So if I get started then, so here is a broad overview of the workflow for an open select article at Taylor & Francis. So what you can see here is the article is submitted and goes through peer review as normal, just as it would for a subscription article. And the third point there is the acceptance. And at the point that the article is accepted by the journal for publication, the metadata of the article populates your research dashboard account. So you're able to see the visibility of all articles on acceptance. At that point, the author also chooses open access, signs an OA license, and then the article is published online. So that's a very high level overview just to see the flow of how it works. So there are two different workflows for the open access article, depending on how quickly the library and the author take action. And I'm going to talk you through both of them in a step-by-step manner now. So the first workflow, which is the smoothest workflow, is the library approving the article for open access funding via the research dashboard before the author has signed the publishing agreement. So you can see there in the purple on the left-hand side that the article is accepted and the metadata populates the dashboard. And if at around the same time, or we tend to say within about 24 to 48 hours, if the library approves the OA funding for the article, the author is sent a link to the online licensing system, which directs them immediately to the open access option and the choice of the Creative Commons licenses to sign. So this is the smoothest workflow, as the library has already said, yes, this article is good for OA funding, and so the author is immediately diverted to the open access options. The second workflow is when the author signs the publishing agreement and chooses open access before the library has approved the article for open access funding via the dashboard. So you can see here, again, the article is accepted, the metadata populates the research dashboard. Then if for some reason there could be a delay, for example, it might be the weekend or the library may not have checked their dashboard account. If the author publishing agreement has reached the author and they go through and start making progress on signing that agreement, they will then have the option whether or not to publish open access. They are informed of the agreement, they then choose open access, sign the OA publishing agreement, and the article ends up in the action required tab on the research dashboard. Now, it's important to note here that even if the author went through the process and for some reason didn't select yes to open access or decided not to publish open access, the article metadata would still populate your research dashboard account. And if you approved that article for funding, the article would still be made open access. So the library can almost overrule the decision made by the author if the article is eligible under the agreement, because of course we want to ensure maximum take up of the agreement and the article allocation through the dashboard. So if I go back to workflow one now, so those are the two high level overviews. Workflow one here, in a little bit more detail, as I said, was the library approval for open access funding via the dashboard before the author has signed the publishing agreement, so the smoothest workflow. So on acceptance of the article, the author will receive this email, which lets them know about the agreement in place. So it says here, I would like to let you know that your institution has an open access agreement, and giving them a little bit of information about the dashboard and letting them know what happens next. So letting them know that they need to look out for an email from the licensing system where they choose their license and sign the agreement. You will also see here that there is the email address of the APC team, which is apc@t&f.co.uk. So that lets them know that if they have any questions or concerns or issues, they can email the APC team directly and they will get back to them in good time. So we think it's very important that there is that contact there in case they come across any challenges along the way. So then this is the dashboard, which I'm sure you are familiar with now. So again, this is if the user has approved the article before the author gets the license email. So if it's been approved like this, the author then is alerted to the fact that they've already been approved for open access publishing. So it says, we're pleased to let you know that your library has approved Gold OA funding for your article through their research dashboard. And it lets them know what happens next, that they need to sign the publishing agreement, choose a Creative Commons license, and also lets them know that it could take 24 to 48 hours to reach them. This is the email that they would receive about the author publishing agreement. So it's just letting them know of the next steps. And this is what the author would see once they start working through the page. So you can see here, this would all be pre-filled information about the article, including the title and the DOI and the journal that they've been accepted into and the authors, any article funders there, and a little bit about the copyright. And here they're given the option of 2 Creative Commons licenses to sign, CC BY NC ND and CC BY, and they're able to choose which one they would like to agree to and to sign. Then they have to just select a little bit of information about content from third parties, conflict of interest statements, and then it gets to this screen here where they have to digitally sign the agreement, and they can download or upload it for their references if need be. And so that's the end of the first workflow. And so as you can see, because the author has already been approved for open access funding, they're immediately shown on the right course for open access and only shown open access options. In the second workflow here, this is when the author signs the publishing agreement and chooses open access before the library has approved for OA funding via the dashboard. So as I said, if there is a delay in approving, as I said, perhaps if it was the weekend, the author may get there first. And so this is the journey that they would see. So they'd receive the same email on acceptance, again, letting them know about the agreement in place and any of the next steps. And they would also be sent the same author publishing agreement at this point. Again, here, DOI, article title and the journal title, the funders, the copyright question, and this is where the workflow changes from the last one. So what you can see here is they're given the option of whether they would like to publish open access. So there's information here about what open access is, the benefits of it. So you can see here the increase in citations with open access, the increase in downloads compared to not publishing open access. So really trying to encourage those authors to publish open access. So they would be able to, where it says here, do you want to make your article open access for anyone to read? They would click yes or no. It's also important to point out here that you can see it says at this point, we have open access agreements with consortia and institutions globally. Please click here to see if your institution has an open access agreement with Taylor & Francis. So if they do click here on this button here, they would be sent to the author services page listing our open access agreements, where your agreement is listed and all the information. So if the author wasn't sure about what it entailed or wanted any more information before selecting yes to open access, we make it clear to them at this point to go through and do a bit of research ahead of time. So if the author then selects yes to open access here, they're then taken through to this page where they have to put in the article type, the country that they're from, and they're shown here the standard APC price. Now, as you can see here, it says, please note this is the standard price without any discount or taxes. You may be entitled to a discount based on your affiliation or other circumstances. And it has another link here to any discounts available and the open access agreement. So if they'd missed it on the previous page, they would be able to see here that it's actually 100% for the author. This is just the standard price. Then here is just they have to fill in some more corresponding author details, so their name, their email address, their phone number, and crucially at the bottom here, the organisation. So they need to start free typing here, and then the box will offer some suggestions as to what the institution could be. And it's absolutely critical that they input their institution here, because it's at this point that the system would recognise that if they've put in Norway, for example, or Finland or wherever, any country where we have an agreement, the system has recognised that that author is affiliated with an institution who may be able to fund your APC, and we will contact them for approval to fund the APC. So the system has recognised through the author putting in the correct institution on the previous screen that they could be eligible for APC funding. So it says, we've noticed you are affiliated with an organisation that may be able to fund your APC. We will contact them for approval. In the event they decline to fund the APC, we will contact you for alternative billing details. And we let them know that if their organisation declines to fund the APC, it will be and what the cost there would be. So we think it's very important to let them know what that cost would be upfront, just in case they're not funded for any particular reason, and in case they still wish to publish open access. There is also the option there to not request funding from the organisation if for some reason they wanted to opt out. So then they're taken to this screen here. That's sort of a summary of everything they've just worked through. So the name, the organisation, the quote details, so the list price, the discount, and the amount payable. And this is for example purposes. So of course, in our agreement, the discount will be 100% for the author, so that would show. So they need to then accept the quote, and then they're sent an APC quote ID, which they need to then put into this white box here. And then they're taken through, because they've selected open access, again to the license page where they can choose one of the 2 Creative Commons licenses, and then they have to digitally sign their author publishing agreement. Now they've gone through that process, they're then sent an email letting them know that we've passed on their request for open access funding to their institution, and it will show up on your research dashboard account within the action required tab. The library at this point will also get a notification letting them know that there is a specific request from an author who's gone through the process and wants to publish open access, so that you know to go into the research dashboard and approve or decline that article for funding. And this is where it would show in the dashboard. So as I said, in the action required tab, you're able to then make that decision based on the eligibility criteria of your agreement and how the article is showing. Once it's been approved, the author then receives confirmation of open access funding, letting them know what they need to do, which would in this case be nothing more because they've gone through and they've signed the agreement, the author publishing agreement. And if they're declined for any reason, they'll be informed by email and letting them know they've been declined and showing them the options still available to them. So whether that's they wish to create a new quote to still publish open access, where they'd have to name a new payer, so whether that's them themselves or another third party, or they can re-request funding from their organisation if they feel if there's a reason to. It's also important to note at this stage that if they take no action, the article will still be moving through the process. So we wouldn't hold up an article, we wouldn't hold up in the production system. It would still be working through the process. It would still be published, but because there's been no funding, it would be published non-open access. So if they took no action at this stage, the article would be published non-open access, but you don't need to worry about there being a delay. This is a little a chart with a summary of the author publication process, which is also, there's a copy of this within your library landing page, so you can look at it in more detail. So it's a high-level summary of everything I've just talked about just now in the presentation. So as I said, if you do have further questions, please send us an email. So mine and Sabia's email addresses are on the screen now. I'm going to hand over to Sabia now, who's going to do a demonstration of the open access research dashboard, showing you how to approve and decline articles for funding and just generally the capabilities within the dashboard. So I think Sabia is now going to share his screen and we will move over to the dashboard.
Yes, thank you, Ellie. Now I'm sharing my screen. So, well, as Ali mentioned, the research dashboard is used to view all the articles that have been accepted for publication in chain of journals, which have corresponding authors who are affiliated to your institution. So using the dashboard, now you can not only view the articles, but also approve OA funding on this platform, and can also take action on the various author requests to make it open access, and finally can use the data to track the publication trend and for record and reference. So this serves as a landing page of research dashboard. So this is what the admins, the users get to see when they use their email ID to as the username, and the password that they have generated using the first time when they sign up and register for research dashboard. So the running total section shows the lifetime of transactions that the institution or consortia has taken. And so you can view the total list by the expand all button, or you can view the titles, the all transactions individually using this icon. So as you can see, the this lists all the transactions, and with the every drawdown, with every transactions, and with every OA article that has been approved, the drawdown, there's a lesser drawdown than the previous one, and the remaining balance that's left with the consortium institution, it shows in here. So every section on this left hand side of your screen will have a self-service option known as the download as CSV. So clicking on this button, you can download in a CSV format all the transactions that's there for that particular section. This shows this was all about the running total section. Now moving on to the accepted article section, which shows you the list of articles that have been accepted for publication from authors who are affiliated to institute, and you can view the data using, as explained earlier, using the expand all function, or you can view it individually using this function. So there are three ways to view this data using the article type. So you can view the data using this section based on the article type. On the OA profile, so if you want to view articles on only open select, you can use this option to view the related articles. And this data can be also used to view based on the funder details. So take action on how to approve the article for OA funding. Basically, 3 to 4 things that we advise the library to take into account while approving. So to approve the article, it's quite simple. You just have to click on the approve button and select the fund, the article allocation fund, and they can add notes for the reference, or for our internal APC team reference, they can add some notes in here, and then finally can confirm. So this was all about approving the article. But before that, to consider if the article is eligible for OE funding, they have to keep an account of a few things. The first important thing being the accepted date. So this is important because as per the agreement, there would be a decided date on which the articles that have been accepted on the date after the acceptance date are only accepted for open access funding. So any articles which have an accepted date prior to the agreed date, as mentioned in the agreement, won't be applied for OA funding. So this is the accepted date is something that needs to be watched upon, and the second being the OA profile. Based on the agreement, if it's open select, they have to check if the article is from open select journal. And the other things being checking on the organization name and the email domain used. And of course, the name of the author. So these things just the library or the admins have to keep take into account before they approve the article for funding. And it's the same as for the rest of the sections. There's a download a CSV button. So I have downloaded a file. So this is how the downloaded file would look with all the metadata, with the DOI, with the title, the author name, when it was accepted and entered, and all related information. Now moving on to the submitted article section. So this section shows the article that have been submitted from authors affiliated to your institution. These articles may not be accepted as of yet, but this section is to show you the articles that have been submitted for publication in TNF journals to give an idea of what are being submitted. So using this section, the library can then pre-approve or pre-decline APC decisions. And so as of now, this section supports majorly the open access, full open access journals, but the product and tech team are working so that by the end of the year, all the hybrid journals come under this on this platform, and you get to see articles that have been submitted in all the Taylor and Francis journals. Now moving on to the action required articles section. So what you get to see in the accepted article section is it's a real-time data. So all the articles that have been accepted, you get to view when the articles get accepted for publication. But while it's getting published, the author, as mentioned earlier in the presentation by Ellie, so based on the workflow too, if the scenario, but when the author decides to make the article open access and chooses the enters the quotation service to choose the license option, and when they complete the process, this is when the article, when the request has been completed by the author, gets to feature in this section, the action required article section. So all the articles, when there is a delay from the library to approve them on dashboard, so and the author they react first to make the article open access. So we use this section on dashboard to inform the library that the author affiliated to their institution has requested the article to be made open access. And it would be the same, the procedure would be same as that of accepted article section. The library get to first analyze the data if it meets the acceptance date, the author affiliation, and the OA profile. And if they're satisfied with it's okay for OA approval, they can then use this button to approve the article for OA funding. The next two sections on approved and declined articles, as the name suggests, all the articles that have been approved for OA funding would feature in this section. So articles approved in the accepted articles and action required articles, when they are approved, all the articles would remain in this section. On declined articles, all the articles have been declined. So usually also suggest the library to mention or to keep a note while they decline, so that we can suggest the author or researcher why this has been declined. And the other option in the decline article section is to approve. So if there's a change in decision, if the library they want to approve the article for OI funding, this can be done in this section. They can use the approve button and then confirm the article for OI funding. This was all about the research dashboard demo. Anything to add, Ellie?
Thank you, Sabia. That was great. No, I don't have anything specific to add. But as I said, if this is hosted on your landing page now, so if you do have any specific questions, please do let us know through the contact details at the end of the PowerPoint, and we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.